Welcome in, football fans, to the Big Man on Campus podcast, the NFL edition. We're breaking down the Philadelphia Eagles, our beloved Philadelphia Eagles, NFC Championship game this Sunday, 6:40 Eastern. Ryan, Vikings, Eagles coming up. Our beloved and beautiful Philadelphia Eagles. I can't wait. I'm pumped up. I'm excited about it. It's the NFC Championship. You were right on the money last week. First of all, before we get into anything, how you doing?
Great. Doing great. You're right. I was right on the money last week. Came on here with you. Told you that they would take care of business last week against the Atlanta Falcons. Everybody counted them out. No one thought they'd win. I told you they would. Lo and behold, we're sitting here again doing another show. That game last week was nuts, obviously. I'm sure you'll touch on that. But I'm doing great. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the game this weekend. It's at home. Should be awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped up about it myself. And we welcome everyone in. I know, not everyone will join us here tonight just because they don't want to hear us whine about the Eagles. But, it's a big-time game. It's a big-time moment for the city. It's a big-time moment for this team, and I'm looking forward to it. We're going to get into everything. We're going to go position by position, where the Eagles can do well, where they can't. Look, before we get into it, this is a very tough football game. These two teams are mirror images, really, of each other. But, Ryan, before we get into it, I got to obviously shout out something very cool. Obviously, many of you know I'm going to the game, but I'm going to tell Ryan on the air right now that he's coming with me on Saturday or on Sunday. Ryan, I broke the news to you about an hour ago. We got 4 beautiful tickets here in Section 108 that you were at the World Series with me a couple years ago, back in 2009. We've been to many games together. So it looks like we're going to treat you again, Ryan.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. It really is. It's funny, just a quick story real quickly. I won't take too long. But today at work, I was listening to 94 WIP at Philly Sports Talk Radio, and they were giving tickets away throughout the day, a chance to win every half an hour. So every half an hour at, half past the hour from 2 to 6, I just would step away and try calling in, getting the trivia answer correctly, which they were easy questions. I knew every single one, but every time I tried to call through, just got a busy signal as expected. It's hard to win those kind of things. So I was kind of bummed. I was like, man, it's Thursday. There's really only one more day to try to get some tickets. Cause I really can't shell out $800. I just can't. It's not a drop in the bucket for me. I'll be honest about it. And then you called with the news, and I thought you were kidding at first that you scored some tickets, and it's hard to put into words. It's going to be awesome. Up there with the World Series game, this will definitely be up there as far as top sporting events that I've gone to, for sure.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Should be fun. I've been to a lot of games this year, but obviously going to these couple games, like the last couple weeks, have been great. I'm looking forward to Sunday.
Got to get our dog masks, Jeff. That's one thing we got to do is get those.
No, I'm actually I'm going to go tomorrow actually and get a couple. So I'm looking forward to it. We got me, we got you, got my brother coming, and we got my sister's boyfriend who's a big Eagle fan. So it should be a fun night. We'll have Donnie Rightside down there. He's down there.
Yep.
We also have, we have so many people we know down there. So it's, we can, go to some tailgates and have some fun. It'll be a great night. So I'm looking forward to it. And Ryan, if they win, the city of Philadelphia is going to have martial law, around. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll have some fun. But let's get into the game. Obviously, that's the big thing tonight. And we welcome all the people out there to check it in. Settle down, Ray Uribe. Games aren't over yet. Let's make sure these games finish how we want them to tonight.
Don't you love that?
Yeah. Let's not jump to conclusions here. But big man, you are a scholar at college basketball. Respect. Thank you, man. That is very nice of you. But you know what? There's plenty of season left, Ryan, as they say. Dale 04, fly Eagles fly. Amen. Dale 04, Ryan, in Newcastle, England.
Oh, wow.
A big Eagle fan, I believe. I know, Cody. Cody, settle down. You've been all over the place today, I've noticed. Getting in fights with Bruce Chad. You're a little upset today. What's going on in your life? What's up, Omari, Russell, HDC, Ryan Gilbert, Johans, Steven, Alla, Xylem, Baldovino. Interesting. Welcome in. Dean Stevenson, Thomas Sullivan, Ryan Gosling's in here. Ryan, how about that?
No kidding. Welcome.
The actor from The Notebook.
Loved you in The Notebook. Yeah, loved you in a couple other flicks too. Remember the Titans? That was one of my favorites.
By the way, Ryan, it's 2:00 in the morning in Newcastle right now.
Wow.
Dale O'Fleur, I often wonder when he sleeps. It's pretty interesting. Let's get into the game, Ryan. Vikings are at -3.
Yep.
Total's 39. And, what we'll do is we're going to break the game down. We'll both give a pick at the end of the game. I'm actually going to give 2 picks for this game, so I'm looking forward to it. I think the first thing that kind of jumps out at me, and look, I know the Eagles have Nick Foles at quarterback, but the Vikings have Case Keenum at quarterback. And I'm really not sure why. Like, why are they not the team to beat here, Ryan? I mean, after last week, what showed that the Eagles shouldn't? Why are they an underdog in this game? I don't get it. I don't see it. There's no feasible case you can make that the Vikings are 3 points better than the Eagles. I mean, they're truly a coin flip. The Eagles are the number 1 seed. They're at home. They took care of the one piece of business last week that they had to do to prove they're worthy. First of all, look, I know the Nick Foles is Nick Foles, but I mean,
No, you're right, and I think it's just the whole. I mean, if you're going to have them underdogs to the 6th seed, you almost have to have them be underdogs to the 2 seed. It's just, I just think that's the way it has to be, and also, as you know, I mean, betting is a lot of public perception. And public perception right now is the Eagles. I've been seeing people saying the Eagles are as far as the 4 remaining teams left, that they're the 4th best team left. So, I mean, the public perception goes a long way with setting lines, as you know.
I get that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if this game's a pick 'em, I mean, there's still going to be the same feasible betting actions. I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's something that I got to ask Matt Holt about out at CG Technology in Las Vegas. I'd like to ask him about that and see kind of, why they put this at where they did and what was the thought process there. But, you look at, obviously, we'll start with the Eagles on offense. And, Nick Foles is obviously the big question. I thought the game plan last week for him was fantastic. I thought, the intermediate routes, the run pass options, even the no huddle, which I mentioned, I thought that would be something that they should try. Kind of catch the Falcons kind of maybe by surprise. Here's what they're going to have to do, though, in this game. Clearly, we all know the run defense for the Vikings is very good. It's 2nd in the league right behind the Eagles. They have to find Ryan a way to attack the right side of that line. Obviously getting and trying to stay away from Linval Joseph, Everson Griffin. I'm confident that Lane Johnson and Brandon Brooks, you got to run on that side, Ryan. I mean, that's going to be obviously huge. They got to find a way to run the ball because the Saints weren't able to last week for the most part. I mean, they had 80 yards and like 21 carries. Jay Ajayi needs to be addressed more. And the problem that I felt with Ajayi is seems like once he had that fumble, there wasn't much from him again.
Yeah. I just think as far as addressing that, I just think Doug's just going to stick with the running back by committee that's just what he's done all year, and that's just kind of what he's going to continue to do. Although Ajayi did show really good flashes last week, particularly early. I mean, he was getting 4, 5, 6 yards of crack. I mean, he was really running the ball really well last week. As far as the offense as a whole goes, I agree with you. They definitely it's going to be hard to run the ball, but I think it's important that they stick with the run. Like you have to stick with it. Last week, they actually rushed the ball more than they throw it. And it was really balanced. I think they threw it 3 more times than they passed it. The Eagles I'm talking about. They need to have the same sort of balance again this week. 3 yards on a first down carry in a game like this, that's going to be good. Like, I mean, really, for either team. I mean, you get 3 yards on first down on a running play, that's going to be good. And you make a good point. Try to figure out the best way to attack their defensive line, which I think is a play that they've had a lot of success with this year, which is when they pull Jason Kelsey around and one of the
Right.
guards around as well. You've been seeing that a lot ever since Jay Ajayi got here in that trade midseason, is where they're both pulling around. That's what they do really well, is getting out in space, blocking, and getting around the edge, and then the back follows. They've been hitting that play at a very high success rate, and I think that play is gonna be key on Sunday night. So, and they have to take shots. That's another opinion. I know Xavier Rhodes is good. The secondary is very good, but you have to keep them honest, Jeff, and you have to take some shots downfield, even if they don't work, just to kind of keep the box a little bit less empty.
It'll be interesting to see I'm sure Sendejo is going to play in this game, but again, that was kind of a concern all week.
Both teams, if he plays real quick, that's a problem. And I'm not saying that as an Eagles fan. Like,
right.
You saw the hit, right? He looked like he was dead. He didn't move for how many seconds? It was said that he was knocked out. And a week later he's going to play. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, you got to wonder if this was a game in the middle of November, would he play?
No, absolutely not.
And that's kind of the issue I have with the league. It's like, so in certain situations it's okay, but I mean, again, I know these guys sign up for what they're doing and whatever, but there are rules. Isn't there a protocol? I mean, what does it just go away when the playoffs start? According to ESPN, Sendejo remains in the concussion protocol, but has advanced through enough stages to qualify for partial practice and was officially voted as limited. He won't officially be cleared until later this week when he visits with a neurologist, but the Vikings appear confident he'll be ready. Agreed, too. And again, the neurologist, doesn't he work for the team probably in some way? Right. So, of course, he's going to write a bill of health off on it.
Yeah, and if you remember earlier in the year, actually just a couple weeks ago, when Zach Ertz missed that game with concussion,
right?
It was kind of the same kind of thing. Was limited in practice late in the week. Word was he was going to play, and then he wasn't cleared. He couldn't give it a go. So, may see the same kind of thing here. If he doesn't go, that's a huge loss. Huge loss.
No, it is. It is a huge loss. And I do want to actually shout out. Now, again, Ryan, there's only 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. And, again, we don't know what's going to happen. But I do have to discuss, if you laid double digits tonight with the Cleveland Cavaliers, you fucking suck at sports betting. You shouldn't do it.
What the fuck, dude?
Yo, Ryan, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I don't know what the fuck just happened.
What was that?
I don't know. I might have just maybe my internet just lost it. I lost my internet for a second. I don't know.
I guess.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Let's see if we go back live here. Weird. I don't know if we're going to go back. I don't know if we'll go back. All right, our sound works. I don't know what's up with the I don't know what the hell is up with the camera here, guys. We kind of just dropped off. I don't know what happened. Here we go. Now we're back. That was weird.
Okay. That was
weird, Ryan. What the hell?
But technology, man. What can you say?
As I was saying, I don't know if maybe they didn't want to hear me talking about how bad you are if you bet on the Cavs. But you're a fucking idiot if you did. I'm sorry. I mean, they're 6-26, a fucking favorite. What are you doing? You've covered 3 times at home this year. You're laying double digits with them. You should have your head examined. Yeah, LeBron's that powerful, Ryan. During the game, he actually found a way to shut my broadcast down for a minute.
Probably did.
But with the game, I mean, and Donnie, Ryan, you look at how dominant this Eagles team is at home. I mean, 8-1 at home this year. Defensively, they're giving up 13 points a game. I mean, it's amazing how good they've played defensively this year.
I don't understand why this is not being talked about more. I don't understand why this the fact that this is being played in Philly is not being like talked about more. I mean, I don't think people realize, one, that this will be Case Keenum's first road playoff game. Case Keenum played okay last week. Had some shady passes. The one interception kind of got off his mark in the second half, and that was at home on turf in a dome. This is going to be outside. That the link is going to be absolutely nuts. They're not going to be able to hear. He was struggling hearing last week at home. And like you said, Eagles now with the win last week, 8-1 this year. I don't even count the last game of the season that they lost against the Cowboys. Nobody played in that game except for one or two drives. So let's throw that game out. Over the last 2 years, this team has the best home record in football at 13-2. This team has lost twice in the last 2 years at home. And now you're telling me Case Keenum's going to come in here and all of a sudden have success? I don't see it. I
totally agree with you. I think, I said at the beginning of the show, these teams are so similar. I mean, they're literally the same team. They're exactly the same. They have great defenses. They have really solid skill position players, backup quarterbacks. I think the Eagles, here's where I think the Eagles have the edge. I think they have the edge in the run game. I think they have better skill position players than the Vikings. I mean, let me ask you, Ryan, who are you taking? Are you taking Ertz, Torrey Smith, Alshon Jeffrey, and the running backs? Or are you taking Diggs, Thielen, and their running back?
I'll tell you, it's close. It is close because Thielen and Diggs actually had the second most receiving yards as a tandem this year, only behind Julio Jones and Mohamed Sanu, who we know something about. We just disposed of them last week. So I'm inclined to lean Minnesota, but I think on the road, on grass, I think it kind of neutralizes that a little bit.
But that's the point, Ryan. What I'm trying to point out here is last week, the receivers were better than anything that we're going to face.
All right. No, agreed.
Sanu and I mean, Julio Jones are going to be the best receiver in the league. I mean,
sure.
So, again, I pretty much knew who Big News was. Fuck off, Big News. See you later.
And that's why, and that's why, if this game was played in Minnesota, I'd have a real hard time trying to figure out a way to pick the Eagles. I'm being serious with that.
Yeah, I think the difference in the game, Ryan, is that's exactly right. The difference is where the game's being played, because you know, like I do. I mean, listen, we've been to every game. I mean, I go to every game. I don't know that we're going to see a better atmosphere than Sunday. I mean, this team has had a lot of big games. This is arguably the biggest game they've ever had at this stadium. I mean, other than the other NFC championships.
Right.
It's to the level where that's going to be the difference.
And if you look at the home and road splits with the Vikings, yes, look, great defense. Absolutely. But if you look at what this team has done on the road this year, it's not a daunting task. I mean, this team gives up 13 points per game at home. They're giving up a full touchdown more on the road. They give up 19 points per game on the road. Second best rush defense in the NFL. That's why, look, it's going to be difficult to run the ball for sure. But at home, you get the advantage of having the count. You don't have to work on a silent count, anything like that. I give them the upper hand in that matchup. One other thing I want to point out too, Jeff, as far as offensive line plays go comparatively, I think I talked about last week, Jeff. Eagles had the advantage up front, offensive and defensive lines. I give them an advantage there again, especially with the offensive line. You look at the Vikings' offensive line this year, Jeff. They've had 8 different offensive line combinations this year, and as you know, and as I know, offensive line continuity in this league is huge. Huge. I mean, if you can play next to the same guy the whole season's great, but 13, 14 games, that's huge. Vikings haven't had that. I mean, they had a different O-line combination from week 17 to last week's game. So, I mean, I put a lot of stock into that as well, especially against our D-line.
Golf Kid 100. They're wearing Philadelphia stuff. Isn't this very biased? Wouldn't it be the same if they were wearing Minnesota gear? Keep in mind, this is an Eagles chat, Golf Kid. It clearly says that in the chat.
Also, Golf
Kid. But I'm
Kid,
very objective.
Jeff picked Minnesota, picked Atlanta last week.
I picked against the Sixers last week. Or not the Sixers, the Eagles.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm objective. If I don't think they're going to win, I don't pick them. I am confident they're going to win this week. I think they're a better team. I really do. I think the Eagles are a better football team than the Vikings. I think it's not big, it's slight, but there are certain things about them that I want over the Vikings. I think defensively, these teams are very similar. Do I give the edge to secondary with them? Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think they have a better front seven. And we also have to remember, I mean, the Eagles have done all this without most of their all their good players. Darren Sproles, Carson Wentz, Jordan Hicks, Jason Peters. Exactly, Stephen Alla. But Ryan, I want to go back to something last year, which I find interesting. We're not talking about this. Do you remember this game last year?
I do. Sure.
The Eagles won 21-10.
Right.
Now, we remember there were 8 turnovers in that game combined, and the Eagles had very limited weapons, if we remember last year.
Right.
And they were still able to find a way to put up 21 points against the exact same defense, by the way.
Right.
With the same exact players on offense. The only thing different about the Minnesota Vikings was Sam Bradford was that quarterback. He actually had a pretty good game. 224 yards. He was sacked 6 times, though. So, very similar team. I mean, there's no real differences. Do I think it's going to go that way, and am I comparing it? No. But against the same defense with limited weapons, they were able to find a way to win. Now, do you credit Carson Wentz with no weapons to Nick Foles at full health with all weapons? I don't know.
And you touched on something I wanted to bring up too. You mentioned turnovers. Obviously, in a game of this magnitude, turnovers are key. I mean, whoever makes the least mistakes is going to win the game. Obviously, the Eagles got fortunate last week, made more mistakes than the Falcons, still were able to overcome that and win the game. Just another notch in the Eagles' belt. That game they probably should have won that game by double digits. But regardless, look at turnover margin this year for Eagles and Vikings. Eagles rank 4th in the league in turnover margin, Jeff, at plus 11. Vikings rank all the way down middle of the pack, right around 13th at plus 5. Turnovers are obviously going to be huge in this game, and Eagles are a little better at forcing turnovers. And I think if you can get pressure consistently on Case Keenum, like the Saints did in the second half last week, he's not the same quarterback. If he has time, can sit back there, make a ham sandwich, go through his reads, he'll have success. But if they get pressure on him, as I expect them to do, he's going to throw up a couple passes that the Eagles secondary is going to have a chance to intercept. And that's just the reality of it. Last week when he was pressured, Jeff, you know what his passer rating was last week when he was pressured? 1.5.
Yeah, not good.
If you don't know passer rating, that's terrible.
An interesting thing, Ron, that I think is really important in this game, and it's actually kind of concerning, actually. I think what's so amazing about this defense that they've had this year is they've had some injuries. I mean, they had Ronald Darby out for a while. Sidney Jones hasn't played at all, really, other than the Dallas game. You look at middle linebacker, Ryan, okay? They open with Jordan Hicks. He gets injured.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Walker comes in. He gets injured. You're down to Donnell Ellerbe. That's your only middle linebacker on this team. And he was injured this week. This is a concern. I mean, you're going to have a Brian Brayman, a Nate Jerry, a Steven Means at linebacker if Donnell Ellerbe. And Ryan, this is Donnell Ellerbe, a guy they picked up off the street about a month ago. It's been amazing what they've been able to do with the makeshift defense. But, I told you last week, watching that game, watching the replay of the game, I was confident that they would get a stop at the end. I really was.
You said that, yeah.
For me, I looked at the game and I said to myself, this is and you made a great point to me. You said to me, this is the difference between Jim Schwartz and Billy Davis. And you're so right. It was like, I remember for many years, this team had such a problem with getting off the field on 3rd and long, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 16. It was maddening at times. And you look at just the simple wrinkles Jim Schwartz brings in, with that wall basically, and says, listen, play everything in front of us. And that's kind of for me in a way where I was blown away with what the New Orleans Saints did on that final play, Ryan, because the clock had 10 seconds. They had no timeouts.
Yep.
Why are you not kind of basically shutting off you're making them throw in the middle of the field? I didn't understand the thought process behind them defensively there. I mean,
great point. Great point. And Jeff, you couldn't be more accurate. I mean, that I know that kid gets a lot of hate for missing the tackle.
It was a bad,
and as he should. But whoever their defensive coordinators, I don't know off the top of my head. If I was Sean Payton or their general manager, I'd
Dennis
fire
Allen.
him. Dennis Allen. I don't know if I'd fire him because they made really good strides this year. But you really have to wonder what he's doing there. I was watching the all 22 video of it from over top because I wanted to see what kind of defense he was playing for myself. Yeah. He was playing basically just a straight cover 2 with the 2 front cornerbacks taking care of the flat for whatever reason. Like the ball's going to go to the flat, right? Like they're going to throw the ball 8 yards. And then he had 2 linebackers in the middle trying to cover the first 12 yards of the field. He only had 2 guys deep. To me is mind-boggling.
We were doing the backcast, and we weren't able to really break the play down as it happened. But this is what was so disgusting about the Saints in that final play. They called the timeout right before that play.
Yep.
Okay, and they were still confused. They had no idea what they were doing. When you have an offensive strategy, the way the Vikings had to do it, they had no timeouts. Okay, they throw the middle of the field. The game's over. What are you worried so much about the sidelines for? Make them throw into the middle of the field. It was awful defensive play. It was terrible. And what was so disgusting about it was not only did they call a timeout right before that play, but then we see after the fact, Sean Payton's on the sidelines celebrating already.
Yep.
It's the arrogance of this guy.
Yep.
It wasn't even talked about. The arrogance of this team. And then you blame the kid. He should have made the play. I don't know what he was doing, but he's a rookie. He went too early. He tried to tackle too early. He was worried about a penalty. I would have said to him, listen, if this is how we're going to play defense, knock him down. We'll take a penalty. It is what it is. Do not let him get loose. They let him get loose. The one thing you couldn't do, they did. And you also look at last week, Ryan, with the Eagles. Are they going to fumble the ball 4 times? Are they going to muff a punt inside the red zone?
Yep.
If they don't do that, they will win the game.
Agreed. I do. I totally agree. And if they clean up the way they played last week, and they did a good job as far as mental mistakes. Not a lot of mental mistakes as far as penalties go. I thought that was a really good job. I actually turned to you and said after the game, I said, Jeff, I thought that was one of the best officiated games in recent memory for me. By that officiating crew. I hope we get the same kind of consistency this week from Ed Hockley, who historically is known for throwing a lot of flags. I hope that's not the case. Eagles have won 5 of their last 6 Ed Hockley games. But I just hope that the refs don't make this all about them. And if they don't, and if the Eagles can limit their mistakes, they'll be in good shape.
I will say this, though. He is a dog ref, though, I've noticed. And I'm actually kind of annoyed that the Eagles aren't getting more points here because he's like ridiculous with a dog getting more than 6 points. In his career, he's like 64% for the dog.
For them, like covering or winning outright?
To cover.
Jeez.
But again, I don't know how much it is to win outright, but he's a really good dog ref. But listen, I think that the listeners are right. I mean, they're asking, what would I make the line? I think the line's a pick 'em, honestly. I don't think there's any difference. And I think you're going to get the same action on that regardless, whether it's 3 or pick 'em. And I want to make it clear and a point. There's a lot of betting action on both sides here. This is going to be a great game for the books. I mean, books are going to make money here. Andre Gallagher's Eagles are going to lose. Okay, fair enough. I have it 17-13 Eagles. I think that's I think if they can play similar to the way they did last week defensively, hold them to – I think if they hold them to under 13 points, they're going to win. I mean, I just do. And you mentioned the turnovers. I think that's the difference in this football game. The Eagles are, I believe, 4th in the league at 1.8 turnovers a game. Minnesota's down in the 20s. They don't force turnovers. It's just not something they do. Nick Foles, they must tailor the game plan similar to last week. They have to do it. I think the under's a great play as well. I think Eagles money line with the under, maybe a little South Philly reverse there. I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah, I like the under too. I have a hard time seeing this game
39.
get above. Yeah, getting into the 40s. I do. I just have a hard time seeing that. I mean, you're going to need. I mean, you're going to need a defensive touchdown. You're going to need short fields from turnovers. You're going to need a lot of that stuff because I just don't see either one of these teams methodically moving the ball down the field, striking on big plays. I just don't see it, and that's when you get into overs. That's the kind of stuff that you need. I like the under too. I liked it ever since it came out. That's definitely the way I would play it. I like the Eagles straight up too. I like them on the money line. Just a gut feeling. Didn't know what to expect coming into this matchup. I'll be honest. It was a toss up for me whether I wanted the Saints or the Vikings, just because each team had their what they do best. The Saints, it would have been offense, worrying about offense. Minnesota, obviously, it's worrying about that defense. But as I peeled back the onion, I looked into the matchups. All the matchups I care about, more than not, they favor the Eagles. And I'm going to say Eagles win this game 17-13. I think it's kind of a similar game as last week, just as far as the kind of pace, try to fill each other out early, and it's probably going to come down to one team getting a stop at the end. And when it's all said and done, I think the Eagles go to the Super Bowl, and we'll know at that point who they're playing because they're the late game.
Yeah, and you know what? They got that crowd behind them as well. So
I mean,
I'm looking forward.
Think about Chris Long made a great point, and Chris Long is one of the most underrated players on this team. I love the addition of Chris Long. He made the point, like, imagine when the Vikings come out of the tunnel and they hear the noise for one, and then they come out and they see all these nut jobs. I'm not ashamed to call us Philly fans nut jobs. We're crazy. We are. We'll admit it. Wearing dog masks. I mean, that's going to be crazy. That's going to be a nutty, nutty scene.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Eagles have no shot at 17. Come on, man. Any comment on that, Ryan?
Yeah, I just look. I said it last week. So many people, when they look at football games, basically all they do is look at the quarterback, and people see Nick Foles, and they just don't see how he's going to have success. But at the same time, it's a team game, the ultimate team game. And I think the Eagles as a team are just better than the Vikings. That's just my gut feeling. And that's not me being biased. Look, if I thought they'd lose, I would tell you. I would. I'm probably a little more biased than Jeff. I'll admit that. But if I think they're going to lose, I'll pick against them. I thought they were going to lose a handful of games this year. That I told Jeff I thought they were going to lose. Some I was right, some I was wrong.
Sean Curry, Nick Foles just needs to take care of the ball, no picks, and they will win. Agreed.
Absolutely.
I agree 100%. They need to not turn the ball over in general.
Yeah.
Fielding punts, little things. That was one thing last week that the Philadelphia Eagles did not do. Little things. Controlling time of possession, not screwing up punts, getting punts off correctly, downing the ball inside the 10, catching punts, blocking field goals, hitting field goals. I mean, all that stuff is important. And I think the offensive line comment you made is interesting, Ryan, about they haven't had that, cohesive offensive line the Eagles have. Offensive line play was absolutely fantastic last week for the Eagles. One of the better parts of them. What's up, guys? What's up, San Diego Views? My buddy in North London is an Arsenal fan. Just got his Patriots jersey this week. Well, it sucks that he's an Arsenal fan. It sucks to be him. Jay Ajayi will be a game changer. I agree. Get him the football, Ryan. He only saw the ball 15 times last week. I need to see 20 or more. I need to see him regularly involved with the offense. Make sure Blunt's out there for third and shorts and on the goal line. Very simple offense. Nothing too ridiculous.
First things first, he needs to take care of the football because he's fumbled in back-to-back games now, going back to Christmas night against the Raiders and then last Saturday against the Falcons. He needs to hang on to the ball. If he does hang on to the ball, he should have a good game. My X factor really quick, and tell me if you agree with this, Jeff. Probably the comeback player of the year for the Eagles, Nelson Agholor. I think Nelson Agholor could have a really, really good game. If you look at the game last week, Drew Brees religiously in the second half was going after their slot quarterback, Tankersley, had a lot of success. And I know it's Drew Brees. I get that. But the matchup's still the same. Their slot guy versus our slot guy. And I give the advantage to Nelson Agholor, who's been a real weapon for this Eagles team this year. Watch out for him making a big play or two in this game.
No, I don't disagree with you at all. As far as we have a comment here from Andres. He says that the Minnesota rush defense or offense is underrated. I don't know if it's underrated. I mean, it's good. I mean, they've been solid, but I mean, the Eagles are better. But yeah, I don't know if they're underrated. They're decent.
They rely on their wide receivers to make plays for them. I mean, that's what their offense is. They'll run it. They definitely like to try to establish a running game, which is going to be difficult because no one's been able to establish a running game against the Eagles, especially at Lincoln Financial Field, in a long time. So if they can't establish a run early and Keenum needs to sit back there consistently and pass the ball, it's going to be a little difficult for them. But I do like their wide receivers. Adam Thielen was a great find for that team.
Let's get to some comments here. For entire half, Breeze couldn't throw against the Vikings. What about Foles? Hey, listen, I'm not disagreeing with you, Andrew. I agree with you. They have to tailor an offense and make it easy for him. They got to run the ball. That's why it's going to be low scoring. Foles hasn't seen a defense like Minnesota. Yeah, I mean, they're the best defense in the league. So, of course, he hasn't. What game are y'all watching? We're not watching a game. Where else are we going here? He showed his value last week with Foles, a running back that can make big plays. Yeah, Ajayi 3 fumbles, not going to happen. No way. I feel like this is going to be a close game. One mistake might cost team either way. Exactly. Danny Boyd chiming in, Ryan. X Factor, Mr. Ertz. I agree. Ertz is huge. It's going to be close, but I think the Vikings are going to take the W. All right, fair enough. Matthew, I have Minnesota 27-16. Wow. I think Foles turns it over 3 times. Short field for Vikings. If I was playing, I'd say they'd win the Super Bowl. All right. Bet with your head, not with your heart. Thanks, Dean. We didn't know that. When Dalvin Cook went down, the offense had to scramble to get their offense together. Agreed. I miss Connor Barwin. I don't. I like Long better.
He didn't fit in the system anyway.
Settle down, Danny boy. I don't know that RD's better than the Vikings. It's very good, very equal. Ryan, I'm going to go 17-13. I agree wholeheartedly with you. I think this is a game where I think the crowd's the difference. I think the home team is the difference. I just think it's interesting. I feel like the Falcons, or not the Falcons, the Vikings and the Jags are kind of, I don't know. I just get the feeling like they're they're still in last week. They're still celebrating last week's victory. Right. It's a quick focus, to this week. You got to travel. You got to go to a tough atmosphere. A lot of pressure. But there's no real difference between these two teams. Very similar. They're like two peas in a pod. Ryan, give me who's going to be the player of the game for both sides of the football?
Both sides of the football, I'm going to go with on offense. On offense, call me crazy. I'm going to say Nick Foles. I think when this game is over, I think similar to last week, people are going to say Nick Foles was pretty good. Wasn't great, but he didn't turn the ball over, and he didn't make any crucial mistakes, fumble, anything like that to cost the Eagles the game. I think he'll do just enough. I think he'll have a similar game like last weekend, high completion rate, maybe around 200 yards, and let's see if he can get the ball in the end zone a couple times via the pass. On defense, I'm going to give you a good one. I think on defense, Nigel Bradham is going to be the MVP on defense. A couple reasons. One, leading tackler on the defense. He's always around the ball, constantly making big plays. Very stout in the run game. He's one of the big reasons why that run D is so good. And two, Jeff, how many times have we seen Nigel Bradham drop an interception this year? How many times? It's been a few. I think he finally gets one. I think this is the build-up, drop, when they need it the most on Sunday. I think Nigel Bradham gets a big interception. He finally puts those bear mitts around the football and gets his interception. So I'm going to go Bradham and Foles for my MVPs.
I'm going to go with 3 players on offense and 1 on defense because there's a reason I'm doing this. I'm going to go Ajayi, Brandon Brooks, and Lane Johnson. I think it's really important that they maintain some consistency on the right side. You got to try to stay away from Linval and Everson Griffith. Those right side linemen should be able to have their way with those 2 on the right side for the Vikings. I like Ajayi. He's got to get going. I need to see him bust a big run, and I need to see him score. Defensive, I'm gonna go Malcolm Jenkins. I think he's a guy that really is the catalyst for this defense. I think he's the
Yeah.
leader.
Oh yeah.
And where I sit, Ryan, and where we're sitting, it's awesome because sometimes you get pick sixes that come right in front of you, literally right in front of you. Basically, guys, where we're sitting, I sit right next, mostly. Last week I was up top, but my seats this week are right next to the tunnel. I've sat there for many years. A friend of mine had tickets there. It's right next to the tunnel in the end zone. So basically, the play comes right at us. And I got a feeling Malcolm Jenkins is going to return a big touchdown right in front of us, Ryan. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. And I'm rooting for just one time. Give me one. I just want one Super Bowl, one time.
I hear you.
By the way, no Vikings fans taking over the Eagles Stadium this week. It's not going to fucking happen.
No way.
Stay to fucking Minnesota. Have fun up in Valley or wherever.
They said we're like gang members. They related Eagles fans to gang members. So
yeah, we are.
So it's like the Bloods and the Crips, man. We see purple in the stadium. We don't shoot the miss, if you know what I mean.
Jared West, his standout stars for both teams. Jerick McKinnon, good.
Okay.
Corey Clement, that's a good one. Corey Clement. Corey Clement's kind of an unheralded hero. There's been a couple heroes for the Eagles. Corey Clement, Trey Burton,
yep.
Guys like Joe Walker for a lot of the year. Just randoms.
Clement actually leads the team in rushing touchdowns. You could stump a lot of people with that.
There you go. Here's the last thing I'll say, Ryan, on the show. Really to just wrap this up. Eagles have made the NFC Championship with Nick Foles. Just remember that. They have a kid. His name's Carson Wentz. And they're going to come back next year as the team to beat with Carson Wentz. So, hey, I'm not trying to be negative, but just remember, we got a franchise quarterback for a long time in this town.
That's right.
Everyone have a great night. Enjoy the games this weekend. I'll be back tomorrow, 10 o'clock a.m. I got a big show planned. We got all NFL will be eagled out. Blackjack Fletcher will join us, 10:40. He'll call in. We'll get him on to talk some Barstool. We'll get him to talk about some NFL, see what he's liking for the weekend. And Donnie and I will discuss the NFL games in depth. We'll go over some college hoops, discuss what happened tonight. We'll even discuss some NBA as well. Join us tomorrow for that. Ryan, as always, thanks for joining me. And let's hope we're on here one more time in a week or so. I look forward to the game on Sunday with you, man. Have a great night, and thanks for coming on.
You got it, Jeff. Anytime, man.
Have a great night. We'll see you next time. My prediction, Ryan's prediction, we both have the same score, 17-13. How about that? Go Eagles, fly, baby.